A conservative candidate backed by U.S. President Donald Trump is leading the presidential election in Honduras in Central America. Nasry Asfura looking poised for the win with nearly half of the votes tallied so far. Early results show the leader of the right-wing National Party maintaining a narrow lead with 41% of the vote. Trailing him is television host Salvador Nasrallah with 39%. In third place is left-wing candidate Rixi Moncada. Whoever wins a simple majority will take office in January and serve a 4-year term. U.S. President Donald Trump has drawn criticism by not only endorsing Mr. Asfura, but also declaring plans to pardon his ally. That's former President Juan Orlando Hernandez. Hernandez was convicted of drug trafficking and sentenced to 45 years in a U.S. federal prison last year. Another hot-button issue is the resumption of diplomatic ties with Taiwan. Both conservative frontrunners have pledged to refresh relations with the self-ruled island, and that could set back ties with China. CNA senior correspondent Victoria Jen with more on what this could mean for Taipei.
This development adds another layer of sensitivity to already tense cross-strait relations. Beijing sees diplomatic recognition as a core sovereignty issue, so the idea of a country switching back to Taiwan, especially one that only moved to Beijing in 2023, would be highly embarrassing for China. And the fact that the frontrunner is openly backed by Donald Trump only heightens that pressure. It signals that Washington is supportive of a shift towards Taipei, and Beijing is certainly taking note. Now, the timing also matters. The new president-elect only takes office in January, and analysts here say that creates a vulnerable transition window. China is expected to use this period to apply very heavy pressure on Honduras to stop any move back towards Taiwan. Now, Beijing has used this playbook before, offering quick loans, fast-track projects, or direct political engagement to secure diplomatic loyalty. And for Taiwan, this means cross-strait tensions could rise in the coming weeks. And if China feels it's losing ground diplomatically, it often reacts more assertively, whether through military signaling around Taiwan, sharper rhetoric, or increased pressure on Taiwan's remaining diplomatic partners. And this is just not about Honduras. It also touches directly on China's larger strategy to isolate Taipei on the global stage.
Well, Kate Fisher is covering the story for CNA from Washington, D.C. Kate, do Hondurans, how will they react to Donald Trump backing or not backing a presidential candidate?
Well, certainly some Hondurans see this as a real positive. They like the idea of having such a strong ally in Donald Trump and the United States. And also Donald Trump in his posting on social media suggesting that he would offer aid to Honduras, which of course is a great attraction for many Hondurans who are suffering under harsh economic conditions. But there are also concerns by the fact that he has offered to pardon a former president of Honduras who is broadly disliked, Juan Hernandez, who was extradited to the US in 2022 over drug trafficking charges and was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison here because of trafficking in hundreds of tons of cocaine. And that is potentially, analysts say, a negative to the leading candidate at the moment in the election because people didn't like living under this president, and it reminds them of how it was and of his links to this man. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to have negatively affected Mr. Asfura because, as you say, he is currently leading in the polls that have been counted so far.
Kate, we heard there from our Taipei correspondent, concerns that a Trump-backed president might alter Honduras's diplomatic ties or the balance it maintains between Taiwan and China.
Yeah, this is really interesting that this issue has become such a hot button issue in the Honduran elections. One analyst saying that it has never been such an important issue in a foreign election anywhere else in the world. Both conservative candidates saying that they favour resuming diplomatic relations with Taiwan and ending them with China, saying that Taiwan is their ally, that the establishing relations with China had been a grave error. That was Mr. Nasrallah who said that, both economically and commercially for the country. A large trade deficit has been established with China. Shrimp farmers, particularly in Honduras, concerned that the Taiwanese used to buy around 40%, and that has not been matched by China. So this is a big issue for Hondurans, and certainly the Conservative candidates are suggesting that they will take the unusual step of resuming diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Some analysts suggest that they may be using that as a promise on the campaign trail, but that it will be a lot harder to put into practice should they win the election. The last time this happened, that a country swapped back and re-resumed diplomatic relations with Taiwan, was 2007, and that was St. Lucia that did that.
Oh, thanks. Kate Fisher there in Washington, D.C., looking at these elections in Honduras.